Welcome to the Chronicles, Part 3, Moving Out. Now, to pick up where we left off in our story, me and Chuck begin linking up a lot more. And, we begin linking up for more trips, all-nighters, that type of thing. This is probably our heaviest binge period, other than when we first get into the apartment, but we'll get into that. So this particular day, right, I had just gotten off work, gotten home or whatever, and, I'm texting Chuck, I'm like, you should slide through. And I'm already off the mushrooms. He decides to dose up on the way over, and when he gets over to my house, we decided to roll up a couple blunts, and we're just chilling out in my room smoking, and I'm sitting on the floor, and I'm already kind of feeling the mushrooms hitting. We're just passing this blunt back and forth, talking, kind of making some plans here, and we're saying because we've been talking for a while about wanting to move into an apartment. At this time Chuck was a car salesman, so he's making pretty good money on his own, and then I had just actually gotten a raise at my job. So I was working full-time and getting better pay than I was before. So with our incomes combined, we were really thinking we'd have no problem getting a place. So I'm sitting on the floor and, Chuck being Mr. Loadout, right? He pulls out his handy-dandy little trusted vial of liquid Molly. Now this guy, Chuck, there was something about liquid forms of drugs. If he could get a drug in a liquid, he would 1000% do it. No hesitation, no questions asked. Didn't matter if he had to go super far out of his way to get it or if he could turn it into a liquid himself. This man just loved having stuff in little vials. Well, and rightfully so, because, he pulls it out. He's like, you trying to do a little Jedi flip, and I had never taken, and I think that's at least the correct terminology. Excuse me if I'm mistaken, but it could be a hippie flip now that I think about it. Mushrooms and Molly. I'm not really sure, but either way. So Chuck pulls it out, and he's like, let me dose you up or whatever. So, I get a couple drops down the hatch, and this stuff would pretty much hit you within a matter of, I don't even know if minutes, probably minutes, but it would hit you so quickly. And I remember sitting on my floor and just like becoming so accepting of just being reduced to this pile of goo. I remember just feeling absolutely incredible. It's so hard to describe the feeling of taking both these substances together, but the Molly amplified my trip in such a way where I was just overflowing with euphoria. It was just absolutely insane. And it got to the point where I was having a hard time reaching for the blunt. I'd go reach for the lit end or whatever, because I really couldn't, differentiate lines and edge. I was tripping really hard and rolling. So it just I don't know. It's a very, very interesting combination. Really enjoyed it, but we're sitting there and we're talking still, and we eventually pull up. We're looking at apartments on some website or whatever. We're browsing and just kind of having a really good night, just chilling out, not really doing much. I was editing some videos and stuff. I was editing the music video for Higher Mind State, working on some stuff for my website at the time. So it was kind of we're just kind of chilling out, and he's kind of looking at apartments on his phone, and we're playing some music and stuff. And we found a few pretty promising places. Actually, so in the days to come, we would end up getting scheduled a little tour so we could go check out one of the apartments and see if we liked it and everything. And so it was only a couple days later that me and Chuck head over to this office. Now, we checked out a few places, but this place in particular, it just had that feeling of home. As soon as I walked inside the door and was standing in the living room, Like I just felt at home. I felt like this is where I want to live, you know? And it was just kind of an overwhelming feeling. Like I was just like, yeah, this is right, you know? So we, end up doing whatever we had to do, and we wait a couple days to, wait to see if we get approved. And we were feeling pretty hopeful, you know? I mean, this was both of our first times getting an apartment, but we were feeling pretty hopeful. We're like, we got the incomes, we got good credit, no, bad marks on our history, nothing like that. So we should be good to go. And lo and behold, a couple days roll around, and we get the place. Everything's all fine and dandy. We're super hyped. In fact, like it was this big mixture of hype and sadness, because I was a little bit sad to like not like I wasn't gonna like see the fam every day. I'm still gonna be like close, so I could still like come visit like literally every day whenever I want. But I was just feeling that kind of like I was super happy and super excited, but also a little like, damn, this is it. Like we're really moving out. And yeah, so it wasn't much. A couple days later, after that, we got the place, or we got approved that we had all our stuff packed up, and we decide we're like, look, we either need to get a U-Haul or something like that. Now, I don't know why we did this, because it's not like we were hurting for cash at this point. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say this was I was certainly not doing great at this point, but I definitely was like getting a U-Haul would not have made or break this moment. And for whatever reason, someone let Chuck know. They're like, yo, you should try this budget rental place, whatever. It's cheaper and basically the same thing. And so we decide, okay, we're going to go with the budget. Now, immediately upon pulling up to this place, like it's pretty far out in the cuts, and like, it's much further south than our apartment, probably by like 25-30 minutes. And immediately upon pulling up, Chuck's commenting. He's like, dude, this place is so ghetto. Like we're going to get robbed here. Like this is all bad, And I'm kind of like, I'm not disagreeing with him by any, stretch of the imagination. I'm with him, but I'm trying to be a little more optimistic. So we go inside or whatever, and the inside is really not any better than the out. I mean, there wasn't any ceiling. It was all just like, piping and like insulation and stuff like that you could see above you. So, and this building was awkwardly long. Like it was a really long building, and there's one guy up at the front desk. And so we open the door, whatever. We're kind of checking it out. Chuck's critiquing the hell out of this place. He's like, oh, I don't like this. Why is there no ceiling? Like, this is all bad. And just it was pretty funny. Like I was trying to keep it together, but we finally get up this long stretch of the building. It was a really awkwardly long building. I cannot preface that enough. And, the guy's just kind of standing there, like, looking at us, whatever. And we're like, so we need to rent a budget. We need to rent a truck or whatever. And basically, like, this guy's asking for a lot of information. And Chuck was, he was willing to put it on his credit card or whatever, or his, I don't know if they took debit. I really don't remember, to be honest. But he was willing to put it on his card, so I was like, okay, but they're asking him a bunch of questions, like more questions than he was really ready for. And it got to the point where he's like, all right, like, because this guy had a super heavy accent. It was really hard to understand him. And we're just like, we didn't feel like we knew what we were getting into necessarily. So Chuck just like made a few phone calls. He just wanted to make sure, like, because like he's like, they want my social security and all this stuff. And I don't know, that's probably a standard thing. I haven't like rented too many, U-Hauls or anything before, but I don't know. I wasn't thinking too much of it, but he was really like kind of paranoid. He's like making sure. So, he comes back in, everything's all fine and dandy. And, we sign the paperwork, and the employee goes out back to pull the truck around. Now, immediately upon, seeing this truck roll around the corner, it's like this thing, there's not even a logo on the side of this truck. Like it's just a plain white box truck. And this thing sounds like an atrocity. I mean, the wheel wells are all rusted. It looks like, dude, the suspension is probably made of 2x4s. It's squeaking and, for lack of a better word, squealing damn near as it comes around this corner. And Chuck's like, oh, hell no. He's like, absolutely not. This is not going to do. And, we're kind of going back and forth or whatever. And, the truck finally makes a stop. It's like, dude, these tires are balder than a teenage girl's car who, she just got her first Stanley Cup. Like, these tires have no tread left on them. And this thing is just an absolute liability waiting to happen. I mean, this thing is an abomination. And, but we don't really have the time to go get a U-Haul or, we already signed the papers and stuff. So we're like, look, this is our ride now. We have to trust that this thing is not going to break down and kill us. So Chuck, being the great friend he is, he elects me to drive the budget. Now, I sort of also wasn't opposed to it because I had like for a previous job driven a dump truck and stuff. So I was like used to driving bigger stuff. And yeah, Chuck also didn't want to leave his car here because this is like the type of area where if you leave your car here too long, you'll probably come back and it's on jack stands and the catalytic converter's gone. Like, it's just not really a nice area. So so he decides I'm going to go park my car further north and I'll follow behind him and then we'll both hop in the budget because the plan for the budget was to go pick up a couch that we bought off Facebook Marketplace. Now, this couch was actually in El Dorado Hills, which is a decent little like hour-ish drive from where we were at. And this place, El Dorado Hills, if you're not familiar with it, is a very, very nice area. I mean, there's like $1 million homes, like super nice houses, complete opposite of where we're picking this budget up from, the straight slums. And, and we'll get into it because it was funny. I kind of think this was somewhat karma because Chuck was just like, the whole time he's just like, man, this thing is going to kill us, this truck or whatever, So when we get to the location where he was going to leave his vehicle and where he was going to hop in the budget, it's like I was kind of, Chuck's a little bit of a speed demon, so I pull up a little bit after him. And I remember pulling in the parking lot and like, I don't know what he was doing. I think he pulled in forwards and then he was like, no, I'm going to back in. And I just see this man backing out and it's like his bumper clipped onto the, it got stuck on the, those like little cement stopper things in parking spots. I don't know, some parking spots have them. It clipped onto that or whatever. And when he was backing up and kind of turning, it just ripped his entire front bumper off his car. And like I'm pulling in the parking lot of this, I think it was like a Rayleigh's or something. I'm pulling in this Rayleigh's as I'm like witnessing, his bumper just getting destroyed by this curb or whatever. And, Chuck was just like, he kept it together. He didn't get too mad, but I could tell like that really set him off. And, he didn't really say too much about the budget after that. I will say that he kind of kept his mouth closed. Maybe he realized it was a bit of karma as well, but either way, we both hop in the budget. We actually grabbed some yerba mates. We're like, yo, let's get a little bit of energy. And, we make our journey. Now, we decided to take some back roads to get over there for whatever reason. Not back roads, but we didn't necessarily take like the main route. And one of these side streets we hit, because we both had just cracked our yerba mates, so these things were just like completely full. We're going around this we get onto this one stretch of road. It is it's an atrocity. There's there's like potholes everywhere. The road, it looks like there's been multiple earthquakes directly under this road. It's just completely, this road is terrible. And the suspension on this truck, like I said, I think it's made of like plywood or something, because every time you hit a bump, it would just like shake the entire vehicle and it just sounded like metal just crashing together. And it was like Chuck was just so like mortified the entire trip. He was like, dude, this thing is going to kill us. It's going to break down. He was like holding on to overhead little strap thing or whatever. And yeah, like our drinks are kind of spilling everywhere because, like, dude, this truck, it wasn't that bad, but considering we could have spent like $20 more and got a U-Haul, that would have probably like been like 10 times better. Uh, just a future note to self. Yeah, I'm gonna get the U-Haul next time. But either way, we get our couch, everything's fine and dandy, and now we have to make our way back to the apartment to drop off the couch. So we do that, everything's fine and dandy. And now we have to make our way further north to pick up the stuff from both of our houses. We had pretty much everything packed up, but we both had to grab like, our beds, a desk, like some chairs, a couple appliances, like a couple suitcases, stuff like that. So we head and take the truck further north and pick up the stuff. Now, by this point, it's like 5, 6 p.m. and it's like the end of February. So it's, it's getting dark. I think it was dark by this point. It had to have been dark by this point now I think about it. And we get to the apartment. So we've got all our stuff in this truck and now we're at the apartment. Now, I had to work the next day. We were kind of running short on time. We didn't have a lot of time, to like organize stuff. So literally we're like, okay, let's just get everything out of the truck and just throw it in the living room. So that's exactly what we did. And we were on the top floor of these apartments. So we're on the second story. So we had to go up a flight of, decently good stairs. And, it was a bit of a workout. I'm not going to sit here and, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But we were both pretty exhausted by the time we got everything in. I mean, we didn't bother we just threw stuff wherever it would fit. And as soon as everything was out of the truck, we're like, okay, now we got to go take the truck back. We were both getting pretty hungry at this point. And Chuck, again, being Mr. Loadout, we had kind of been talking about this throughout the day, but he was generous enough again to offer some more of that liquid Molly. So he's like, look, let's go eat a little bit of food and then we'll dose up and you'll be able to drive the truck over to the drop-off location. And then from there, we actually still needed to go to Walmart because like we didn't have towels or I didn't have a shower curtain and we just needed like some stuff like that. So we were going to go, get some of the household essentials. Now, for whatever reason, we decided to go to Sonic. Not really sure why, but it was just close by. And, we get our food or whatever. Everything's fine and dandy. And now it's time to dose up. So it's like, it's got to be like 11 o'clock at night. It's pretty late. And I got to work early the next day. But, me being, again, in this sort of era, whatever you want to call it, I was just down as a clown, I was ready for anything. And anytime Chuck suggested that we roll or trip or do something, I was always in. I was like, I was always down for the cause. So I was down for the foolery, down for the tomfoolery, if you will. So we dose up and I've still got to drive the truck like 30 minutes back to the drop-off location, and Chuck's going to follow me because, he's going to pick me up. So we make the journey, and I didn't really start to feel anything until I dropped the truck off, thankfully, it wasn't a crazy dose by any means, but it wasn't really a smart idea. It's like, again, we were just kind of on this schedule. We're like, look, we got to, if we don't want to be rolling all night, we should take it right now. So that just seemed like the wise decision, which it ended up being a pretty good decision because we end up getting to Walmart. And this is probably like my favorite part of this story because we dose up a little more in the parking lot. And by the time we get inside this Walmart, I'm absolutely bussing. I'm rolling cheeks. I'm rolling titties. I'm feeling fan-freaking-tastic. And like we were just so like hyped up. We were kind of like speed walking around the entire store and we kept commenting. We're like, oh dude, we're so efficient right now. Like we got to be doing this more often. Why don't we, take uppers when we go to the grocery store more often? Like, look how much we're getting done right now. And we kept commenting. We're like, we're going around and just making laps around the store. Just like, look how efficient we are. And like, I don't know, like I'll never forget that. Cause it's just like, it's 12 o'clock at night. I got to work tomorrow, but I don't have a care in the world. And this time period, uh, I had that attitude really cemented where I was able to just enjoy the moment and not worry. Because like now, there's no way I could do this. Then, I just have too much worry and anxiety. But back then, it was like just do whatever we wanted. So, um, we get our stuff from Walmart and we get back home. Now, this apartment we got was, it was pretty nice. It was considered like a luxury apartments, and they had this sort of all night, 24/7 gym that had like a spa, a jacuzzi and stuff like that. So we were talking like, look, we should go in there while we're rolling, and it'll be fun. Like, we're just let's check it out, because we wanted to try out all the stuff. This whole place was so new to us. We couldn't wait to try out all the amenities and just and go see the whole property, because the apartments were really nice, and it was on top of like sort of a hill, so it had just this amazing view of pretty much the surrounding areas. Like you could see for miles and miles and miles. So we're like, okay, we get changed, and I'm kind of digging through all this stuff looking for my swim trunks, because we just, like I said, we threw everything in the living room. Didn't even try to organize anything. Just like I said, wherever it would fit, that's where it's going. And, so we didn't even have any towels with us. We're thinking, oh, the jacuzzi will be warm. We're not that far away. We'll just dry off when we get back. Well, we get to the jacuzzi, and immediately I'm kind of like commenting. I'm like, it doesn't look like it's very warm. There's not really any like steam coming off it. And this is like February, so it's pretty cold out. Now, granted, it was like indoors or whatever, but I don't know. I just like usually you like see a little steam or something come off. It just looked kind of cold. I'm like, damn, and like Chuck kind of feeling the water. He's like, yeah, dude, the water is pretty cold. And we didn't see like a sign on the door or anything, like it was out of order or nothing like that. There's like no buttons or settings. There's no way to like change the temperature anywhere. So like we're just like, okay. And yeah, he gets all the way in up to his neck. Now me, I'm not as adventurous as Chuck, and especially with like cold water, I'm not really like a big fan of it. Um, but like how I felt in this situation, like have you ever seen the movie The Iron Giant, where Hogarth is in the lake or pond or whatever it is, and he's like yelling at the guy. I can't remember what the other guy's name is, but he's like yelling at him. He's like, "Oh, you got to get on in here. It's great." And his teeth are chattering and stuff like that, and he's clearly freezing. Like that's how like Chuck was trying so hard. He's like, "Oh, this is the best, man. Especially while you're rolling. I feel like I'm in a hot tub right now." Like he was trying to sell me this experience, and I just wasn't having it. I'm sitting there like I got my feet in, but I have no intentions of going in this cold water. So we after a while or whatever, he gets out and kind of he's freezing cold because we got to go through the street and back over to our apartment. And we get back in there, we're chilling out. We decide, we wanted to further the celebration. So in order to cheers, we end up cracking a beer, and we just really cracked one to celebrate. Didn't end up drinking. That's a terrible idea, especially on Molly. Kind of a waste too, but that's just you ask me. But we crack these beers and we celebrate, and we just kind of pushed as much stuff off the couch as we could to both have a little seating, a little sit or a seat. Wow, excuse me, I cannot talk. And yeah, man, we were just celebrating the fact that we felt like we kind of made it. We finally had our own place, and we're like, yeah, this is the start of an epic series of adventures, because we had really big plans for this place, and like, different trips we wanted to do, different things we wanted to try. We had even previously discussed like possibly making DMT and stuff like that. So we just had the world felt like our oyster, and we were ready for anything. We were ready for anything to happen. And this is, right literally when the lockdown hit, because I remember we moved in, and then like 2 days later, it was at the point where like, I remember like my job, they would give me a note or whatever that like in case like the police pulled you over on your way to work or on your way home, it was like a note saying you were allowed to drive during these hours of the day. Like when I say lockdown, it really was a lockdown. Like maybe in some parts of the country, the US or whatever, it wasn't really like that, but in Sacramento, they did crack, or at least they tried to. But yeah, it's just wild how impeccable our timing was, because like once we moved in here too, like it was so hard to find an available place, and like all the rates went up quite a bit, and we were locked in, so we had our rate. It was pretty pretty affordable for the time. And yeah, it was just truly the timing of it. It's like it feels like we shoved all our furniture in the door and shut the door in like the literal nick of time, and we were safe. I don't know how any way other put it, but yeah, man, like actually it was funny because I had to work the next day. I ended up calling out because I was rolling all night. Like I didn't get any sleep. I pretty much just like passed out for like 30 minutes, and then the sun was like blaring in my face. I'm like, dude, we have a mess in here. And yeah, I called out of work. We ended up just going to get some food or whatever, and we really just spent the day like cleaning up, organizing, and yeah, just getting our new home ready. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this part of the series. Next part of the series is going to only escalate further into the adventure. So I hope you all are ready. I cannot thank you all enough for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Peace.